It's Jordan Mulligan from the Mulliganbrothers, and today's interview highlight is about using the pain and not running away from your problems with our dear friend and one of my personal favorites, Jonathan Bricker. Today's interview was brought to you by Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now buy their new t-shirts and the journals, all linked down below. And also you can help support projects like this by using the join button here and becoming a member of the channel. Before that, let's jump into the highlights.
For me, Mulligan Brothers, for myself, was founded on a trauma that I went through, quite a traumatic experience with my son. My son passed away, and I felt that through that tough time, it really drove something inside me to want to help other people. And I find it hard to express that to people of how that works. Have you got any words yourself of how that worked for you?
I think what I realized first, I just want to acknowledge, how incredibly painful that must be for you to have lost a child. It's just, I imagine very, very painful experience that you've been having to go through. And like for me, I feel in many ways I have lost a brother, in the sense of his experience, the possibilities of what could have happened in his life, as he was so young when he developed his mental illness. He has bipolar disorder, and it's very difficult for him to function. And so what I really had to do was really mourn the loss of what he could become. So in a sense, a kind of death of what could have been in his life. And I think it was, for me personally, it was being able to turn toward that suffering instead of turning away from that suffering. A lot of people who've been through a trauma, who've had a serious loss in their life, they're given a choice. They're given a message is being sent to them, and the message is, do you want to move toward, or do you want to move away? It's almost like a call, and we have to make a decision of whether we want to answer that call. And some people, like I can imagine in your case, some people who have lost a child, they may want to move away because the suffering is so great, the devastation is so strong, that they could end up really having very difficult lives. They could end up having all kinds of consequences in their lives when you move away from your suffering, addictions, or it affects one's marriage, etc. In the same way, for me, I could have grown up a very angry young man, having to go through what I did as an adolescent, as a teenager. And so I think it really comes down to that: are you willing to answer the call and move toward what's inside that's painful? Because in that, there is something bittersweet. And that bittersweet is, you find, what is your calling? What has meaning in your life? What is it that's going to move you forward? And I think it's probably one of the most important early formative experiences in my life that have moved me in a direction where I could make a contribution to others and help others who are suffering, and help others be able to live lives that are more productive and more fulfilling.
Moving towards the trauma, that really resonates for me. I had to really embrace the pain and the feeling. I felt like that needed to be a part of me, and I need to experience that. And I feel like it definitely did lead to wanting to give other people compassion and try and help other people. On the flip side of that, there is another traumatic experience that happened in the same pregnancy. It's a bit heavy, but I also lost a twin daughter at the same time, and I'd suppressed it, and I'd suppressed this anger And for me, it felt like it had bubbled up and became, it still is something that I'm trying to process, but it'd become, I'd had bad habits from it, or I'd have the eating disorder in particular. And so this is when I wanted to talk to you about the demons. That you spoke in email about like having these demons and trying to handle them, and how we can have these things that take us away from self-control. So for you, when we talk about like demons, like in people's lives, like what can that range from? Like from something like what I'm going through, or or a small thing. I don't know how it works, but how would you describe it?
Well, the truth is as long as we have the capacity for language, as long as we have that ability to speak, to think, to feel, to have physical pain in our bodies, we're going to have demons. All of us are going to have demons. So when I talk about internal demons, I'm talking about negative thoughts, negative things we might tell ourselves, how we might be critical of ourselves or of others. Or I'm talking about ways in which we have thoughts that are depressive thoughts or anxious thoughts or fearful thoughts. I'm also talking about physical pain. People have injuries. They could be sports injuries. They could be injuries from accidents or chronic injuries that they've been living with for many, many years. So it's the physical part. And it's also just what we would call emotions, sadness, anxiety, and so forth. And so I want to add to that memories. So we may have painful memories, the losses you've experienced in your life. I mean, I can only imagine how deeply painful that is to think back of those times when you've had the loss in your life. That is just, I mean, I could feel that inside right now as you've talked about that. I just can touch that in just some sense the depth of which I'm sure is so vast. And so when you take memories and thoughts and emotions and physical sensations, they can all be the demons that we carry around with us. And some of us have been carrying them around with us for years. And it's a question of what are you going to do with that? Are you going to try to push them away, or are you going to try to let them be there inside you? And that's really the choice that I'm talking about. It's a fundamental choice that underlies the secret to self-control. Because what happens is when we try to push away, avoid, control the internal demons, do you know what happens? They get bigger.
Yeah.
They get bigger. And there's some powerful science behind this, that when you try not to have something, you have more of it. The more you don't want the demons, the more that you have them. And I've talked about this in different ways. One of the ways is this idea of a tug of war. It's like you're in a tug of war with these demons, and the more you pull, the more the demons pull back. And you go on and on and on. And eventually, you don't win this battle. You might temporarily get a little respite. You have a drink, or you use some drugs, or you get into something really, really intensely. Maybe you work out really, really, really hard, so you don't have to face this internal experience. But what happens is you can get injured, you can get hungover, you can have an accident, you can hurt your marriage, you can hurt your relationships. And what happens is the demons eventually will come back to you. And then what are you going to do? And so there is an alternative to that. And that's really the hope. That's part of the message I wanted to share today, because this hope comes from a science of behavior change that's really, really exciting right now, that has a lot of promise for helping people live more effective lives.
And there you go, another amazing piece from Jonathan Bricker. I'm actually working on a video at the moment of weight loss, and Jonathan Bricker is a key part of that, so stay tuned for that video. He has some amazing stuff. Go follow him on social medias and his websites. And also today's video was brought to you by Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now buy the Not a Journal, the ironically named journal, which helped me organize my day-to-day life. If you want to see my day-to-day life, head over to Instagram at Jordan Mulligan Brother. But guys, thanks for watching. Comment down below if you got something from this video. Share some of your own journey and story down below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.